What is the strangest unsolved mystery? That guy who ran away from the airport hopped the fence and was never seen again. The 169th victim of the Oklahoma City bombing. They found an additional leg in the rebel. DNA tests showed it belonged to another victim who had already been buried but with the wrong leg. The wrong leg had already been embalmed, so they could not get DNA at the time. So who did this leg belong to? All other legs had been accounted for in other victims. They found no other body parts, and nobody else had been reported missing. It was only until 2015 they could get DNA from the leg, but it's still classified as a John Doe. A few conspiracy theories had pop up, like maybe a second bomber that got caught in the blast, but it's still unknown. What happened to Ireland's most beloved racehorse Shergar? It's widely believed the IRA kidnapped him for ransom and ended up shooting him to death as he got too much to deal with. However, even long after ending their campaign, the IRA has been admitting to the kidnappings and killings of several people, especially in relation to the disappeared, but haven't mentioned Shergar once. Surely they would have come out and claimed responsibility by now if they were behind it. Did the Serbian farmer, Dordi Martinovic, get injured from a bottle up his arse in a failed masturbation attempt or from an interrogation by two Albanian men? During May 1985, he was treated for injuries caused by the insertion of a bottle up his anus. Initially, he claimed that he was attacked by Albanians. Later, he stated that it was actually caused by him masturbating. This resulted in investigations. The bizarre situation caused widespread controversy and contributed to worsening tensions between Kosovo's Serbs and Albanians. He eventually reverted back to his original story, that he was attacked. Asha Degree. Lived in my town, sad face. In 2000, she walked out of her home willingly at age 9 in the middle of the night on Valentine's Day during a massive storm. She was sighted multiple times walking down an extremely rural and desolate highway by herself in the pouring rain and then was never seen again. Her book bag was discovered miles away buried in a trash bag a year later. How was a 9-year-old convinced to leave her home alone in the middle of the night, in a storm, to walk down a deserted highway? How has there been no substantive leads at all since 2001? I remember seeing a video about a woman that after getting divorced started getting stalked and assaulted in her own house. Every time police would arrive, no one more than her was at the scene. Sometimes she would appear with bruises, once she appeared with a screwdriver through her hand. This happened so many times that police started ignoring her calls after the investigation on her husband and on the case left no suspects. 3 months later she disappeared just to reappear next to a highway in the middle of the desert, miles away from her house, with her hands tied, dead. Autopsy later confirmed she was beaten to death. Creepiest shit I know. Edit. The case is the death of Cindy James. Some of the details are different, but it's all detailed there. The location of Heinrich Müller, the final Gestapo chief. He was last seen in Berlin, roughly 3 days before it fell. At the time, he claimed to be fully aware of what the Russians did to POWs and that he had no intention of being taken prisoner. He most likely had access to foreign documents as the Gestapo leader and knew how to duplicate them. He was sought after by the CIA and the KGB, but nothing of him has ever been discovered. Who killed JonBenet Ramsey? I just want a clear answer. Somehow most of my kitchen containers are square and most of the lids are round. For me personally, my grandmother was murdered in her home in 1996, I think. She was beaten so badly, her own sister didn't recognize her at first. Given where she was living, it was most likely some meth head, who will never be found, but it'd be interesting to know who did that to her. The case of Branson Perry in 2001, he was cleaning out a house and he told a friend he was going to return a pair of jumper cables to the shed and he never was seen again. The one with the bridge in Scotland, and tons of dogs have jumped off of it for no reason. Scientists claim it has something to do with a high-pitched noise. Other claims have to do with scent, ghosts, alternate universe, and evil energy. The Catman of Greenock. He's a peculiar, non-verbal man who crawls around on his stomach, is covered in dirt and survives through eating rats. There was reported sightings in the 70s and 80s. There was no hard evidence of his existence until someone recorded him on their phone during 2007. There's lots of mixed opinions on him. Some swear that they encountered him. Others are certain that the whole thing is just a myth. But, a fair amount of people think that there might have been an original one and the guy who was spotted more recently is an imposter, or, it was a myth but someone pretended to be him for a laugh. The disappearance of the 9th Roman Legion. One hypothesis put forth was that these mfers just up and left the Roman Empire and moved to China and is responsible for a region in China where a lot of people have blue eyes. Just to show you how crazy the theories can be. The WOW signal. Astronomers have speculated for years that, if intelligent alien life were real, they would have similar or better understandings of physical sciences as we do. One thing that is universal in chemistry and physical sciences is frequencies emitted by certain atomic elements. Therefore, intelligent alien life would most likely have an understanding of these frequencies as we do. So, if intelligent life wanted to communicate in a way which was universal between planets, i.e. not a special language or numeric system, then emitting a signal at a certain frequency would be an excellent way of doing that. As hydrogen is the building block of all other elements due to its simplicity and integral nature, astronomers speculate that, if intelligent life wanted to communicate through frequencies, they would do so in the hydrogen frequency. In the 70s, radio telescopes in the US were pointed up towards the sky collecting any radio data that came in. Most of the data collected are seemingly nothing, just random radio noise. However, in the early morning of August 15, 1977, one of these radio telescope centers began to get a ton of data. And it was all at or near the frequency of hydrogen. And the signal was strong and fairly consistent, meaning that it would be incredibly unlikely it was random radio noise or passing radiation. Technicians monitoring the data were dumbfounded by the signal, and had no explanation for why it was coming or how it was so consistent. So, they just wrote "wow" on the datasheet. We still don't know how such a powerful signal could have even penetrated our atmosphere and remain consistently transmitted for as long as it did. Some people believe it could have been military testing nearby, but, again, it would be incredibly unlikely such a consistent message could be transmitted through simple interference. Plus, no military testing was reported in the surrounding area. The same or similar data has not been reported since, leading many to believe that the signal could have been an SOS signal from a dying planet, or just a passing coincidence that we may never see again. There's a star called Perzybelski's star that's full of plutonium, an element that should not exist anymore in nature as it would have all decayed into other elements. Even if you assume aliens, where did they get so much plutonium? And why would they use it to change the composition of an entire star? Nothing makes sense about it. In 1997, someone speared a massive pumpkin on the spire atop of Cornell's McGraw Tower. 173 feet in the air. No one knew who. No one knew why. And no one knew how. Can Cornell finally bust open its great pumpkin mystery? https://www.npr.org/section/the2-way/2017/1042-4/after-20-its-great-pumpkin-mystery. The lost A-bomb off the coast of America, which the US government said not to worry about in the 50s and tried to cover up, was dumped in the ocean in an aviation accident and it's still lost to this day. 100x more powerful than what was dropped in Japan. The case of the Somerton Man. This man was found dead on an Australian beach in 1948, and to this day, no one knows who he was or how he died. The case has baffled investigators for over 70 years, and it remains one of the world's most mysterious unsolved cases. The 1987 Arkansas murders of Don Henry and Kevin Ives. The Call of the Void. What's that about? It's eerie as hell. I've experienced that a lot. The guy's motive for shooting up all those people in Vegas. The Delphi murders. Who picks up a guide dog's shit? The origins of the universe, like what caused the Big Bang. Did anything exist before it happened? The Battle of Los Angeles during World War II. Why does matter exist? All simulations point to antimatter and matter being generated in equal amounts after the Big Bang, then annihilating each other into nothingness. But here the universe is, full of matter and no antimatter. What happened? Guy who called Brian who was seen by CCTV going into a bar but never appeared to walk out. And just disappeared. Who put Bella in the witch elm? This case in particular just makes me sad because we don't even know who she was. Bella was a name some prankster came up with. Brian Schaefer, a medical student who disappeared from a Columbus bar without a trace. There is absolutely no footage of him leaving the bar on the cameras and he has never been heard of since. It seems as if he fell off the face of the earth. Crazy case.